Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? As the word says. Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Excellent.
I love it.
Why does I always feel so cynical when I tell you how I'm feeling? I really am okay.
You're great.
I'm great.
I love it.
Great.
Everybody, hope you're doing well out there. We are going to smoke, and we are smoking the Majin Fujita. It is now 7 weeks cured. We smoked this over the weekend around a fire. It was perfect nighttime weather for a fire, some cocktails, and some Majin Fujita. And we smoked a fatty that Mr. Weeman stuffed. As you all know, I can't roll worth to shit. So I stuffed a good fat baseball bat, and we got ripped and had a lot of fun talking and listening to some good music. And it's that time of the year. The weather in Chicago is nice and fine for that 48 to 52 degree weather at night for a nice little fire.
Or a big fire. We had a good-sized bonfire going.
Yeah, we did.
It was toasty.
It was very nice. Very nice. I'm surprised we didn't do s'mores.
I don't even like s'mores.
No?
They're kind of stupid. I like the marshmallows.
We should do some marshmallows. Actually, what we should do is take infused chocolate.
Yeah.
And dip it into the marshmallow after you cook it. Melt the chocolate by the fire and then dip it in the marshmallow and eat it.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of nice. So don't do the graham cracker part of it. Just do the chocolate after you cook the marshmallow.
What if you took like Rice Krispie treats and you made them pretty thin, and that could substitute for your graham cracker, because that's what I don't care about is the graham cracker part. So you take 2 thin pieces of Rice Krispie treat, put a piece of chocolate on there, good like dark chocolate. My mouth is watering thinking about this. And then slow roast the marshmallows so they get ooey gooey in the middle and super charred on the outside. And then put that between the chocolate and the Rice Krispies.
Now you're talking my language.
We're going to do that. Next bonfire, we're making that. Screw graham crackers.
There you go, everybody.
Graham crackers are good with butter.
That's true.
That's about it.
That's true. But that sounds like my kind of language right there.
Yeah, I think we're going to make those.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do that.
And we can infuse the Rice Krispie treats with a little can of butter. And then we could even use infused chocolate. We can make some whammies.
There you go.
That's what we're going to call them, whammies.
Oh, I'm lighting this joint right now, Mrs. Weedman. Ready to smoke
Struggling. Mr. Weedman lit his nose on fire the other day.
I did.
And I look up
did.
and I'm like, what are you doing?
I had black fucking...
His whole nose was all charred. The whole tip of his nose. We were like at the end of a joint and he had to relight it because we had stopped to talk. And when he relit it, it was a little too close to his face, and he poof, like this big old poof.
My nose was all black.
It was all black. It was all black.
It looked like someone took cork and rubbed it on their nose to make him look like a mouse for a Halloween costume.
Oh my God, that's old. When you had to be a hobo for Halloween because you didn't have any costume, so you just like grabbed an old flannel.
That is true.
And you put a pillowcase, you tied it around a stick and put it over your shoulder, and yeah, you had to. That's what you did. You burned a cork, and then you'd make your face look dirty.
Yeah, and you did that as a mouse. So you wanted to use that for your nose, or
I guess you didn't have any costume makeup at home.
It was the cheaper way to do it.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't easy to get black mask paint and all that kind of stuff you needed.
Remember the sticks? They were like tongue depressor sticks, and they were coated with like primary colors. It'd be like white, black, red, blue. And if you were painting your hair or your face for a costume, you'd get the stick wet. Do you remember that? And then you'd just like smear it on your face.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Hard times back in the 70s trying to get dressed up for Halloween.
I don't remember that at all.
I just hard times.
I just remember those cheap ass costumes we used to wear back in the 70s and
oh my
80s,
God. They were plastic.
Masks. Oh my God,
they
it was
were
brutal.
Hardcore, like straight up plastic bag. And you had to climb into that thing and it was always shorter than your pants.
Yep.
Oh my God, tied in the back, and then there was that hard, crunchy mask you had to wear.
Oh yeah, that mask
was
was
and
you couldn't breathe, and you couldn't
like
see
little
slits,
dangerously sharp openings for your eyeballs, 2 little holes for your nostrils. Oh my God. I'm telling you, kids. The kids these days.
You guys
right?
have some great shit.
The options.
The costumes you have now
Freaking
compared to the costumes we had. Remember, though, it was cool. It came in a box, a clear, like, the box was all, like, decorated.
I only had a couple of those in my life.
A box was all decorated, but then it was clear in the center, and you could see the mask.
You could see it.
Right. And everybody wanted the superhero mask or the panda one or this one or the clown or whatever.
The
panda one was
that
a big one. Yeah. But the thing about those costumes were...
Creepy clown.
The thing about those costumes is that if it was like 30 degrees out for Halloween and you didn't wear like long underwear or you didn't wear like sweatpants and don't forget, we didn't have a ton of options back then. So, I mean, you only had like one pair of sweatpants. That was it.
Yeah.
And if it didn't fit, all you did was wear the mask. Because I was a husky kid, and I broke.
He thinks he was. I've yet to see evidence.
I was a husky kid, and I used to like rip those costumes, like just putting them on.
Maybe you needed to buy the next size up.
All I would wear
Maybe that was the problem.
All I would wear was it was only like one really true size.
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't very many sizes. Not
there was
small.
Like small, medium, large.
There was not.
Yes, there were.
No.
Come on, so an 8th grader had to wear the same costume as a
no 8th grader
kindergartner
was wearing that fucking costume. It was probably like a 4-year-old, 3-year-old.
Maybe that was your problem. Maybe you were trying to squeeze into
old.
it in 8th grade.
No.
And it was your first grade costume. You're like, oh, I'll replay this one.
Oh, man, we're starting the fucking show. Enough about Mr. Weedman's huskiness.
If you celebrate Halloween wherever you live, enjoy.
Yes. What do you think about this?
What?
About the Majin Vegeta?
Oh, it's good.
Yeah? I think it's cured nicely.
I was afraid about a week ago that I couldn't get high anymore. After we came back from Key West, I felt like I had greatly upticked my smoking capabilities.
Yeah, but you did a little tolerance break.
So then I took a tolerance break and came back. Mr. Weedman was traveling for work, and I came down and I had my smoke session by myself. I kept hitting the bowl. I'm like, I'm not high. What is wrong with me? I kept smoking and smoking. I was so afraid. But
well, we got pretty baked on Saturday smoking
that
joint.
Yeah.
So, and then we smoked a joint I still on Friday. We smoked a joint I had from Oklahoma still, and that got us pretty high.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that was pretty good too. So
I'm okay.
You're good.
And if my tolerance goes up, then I just have to consume more.
You just smoke more weed.
Yeah. I'll double up my edibles.
There you go. You ready to start the show?
I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
Let's do it.
Does weed lower your testosterone? We've been focusing on a lot of women stuff, right?
Yep.
And this one is going to go out to the men out there. So, and there's some stuff about women testosterone in here and stuff like that also. So, but there's a popular narrative going around the anti-cannabis lobby. That increasing legal access to cannabis, medical or otherwise, will lead to male fertility crisis with plummeting testosterone, overly chilled out, and rather directionless spermatoza.
They're going to be lazy pot heads, lazy pot sperm.
Yeah, lazy sperm, just not even making it halfway. However, if we turn to the available human data, any mass media cannabis-induced man-boob hysteria appears to be largely unfounded. Instead, the evidence suggests that regularly consuming cannabis can impact testosterone levels. Some studies have suggested that regular cannabis use decreases testosterone, and some others actually correlated cannabis use with increased testosterone levels. The significance of the connection between cannabis and testosterone levels remains to be fully understood. We're going to talk more about THC in this, but just with CBD oil and testosterone, there's not enough data to really say that it does lower or negatively impact male reproductive systems. So we will just talk about THC on this one. But first, what is testosterone? Testosterone, sometimes just called T, is a male reproductive hormone predominantly made in the testicles, which mostly thought of as a male hormone. It's also produced in small amounts in women as well. It is responsible for the host of important functions, including sex drive, fertility, storing and burning fat, muscle mass, the production of red blood cells, and even regulating mood. Most of us are familiar with the biological changes experienced by boys at the onset of puberty. Their voice gets higher, and probably comes as no surprise to hear the dramatic increase in testosterone production is responsible for the deepening voices. Body hair, increased muscle mass, penis, testes growth, and sperm production. Actually, I think their voice gets lower. Right? It's higher for a minute.
For a minute.
And then it gets lower.
Yeah.
Usually about 12, 13. In fact, during adolescence and the 20s, testosterone levels are at their peak, after which it's a slow decline, hastened by factors such as alcohol consumption, exposure to toxins, obesity, heavy metals, and pesticides. Signs of low testosterone levels in men include low libido, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, low mood, loss of muscular strength, and brain fog. The use of illicit drugs is often to the list of contributing factors, but interestingly, commonly prescribed pain medications, such as prescribed opioids and even ibuprofen, can also prematurely reduce testosterone levels in young men. While we generally think of testosterone as a male hormone, it's also found in women. And conversely, estrogen, a form of the female hormone estrogen, also plays an important role in the male's sexual health. While present, they are present in differing amounts between men and women, and indeed, it's these gender differences in the hormones that experts think may contribute to the difference in how men and women experience cannabis. Cannabis, testosterone, and the endocannabinoid system. The average cannabis consumer probably doesn't spend too much time considering the biology behind the high sensation they experience when enjoying weed. In fact, it was only in the 1990s when researchers discovered the endocannabinoid system, a vast network of special receptors in our brains and bodies activated by cannabis-like chemicals, that even the scientific community began to understand cannabis' intoxicating effects. They realized that THC fits into these receptors like a key opening a lock, which in turn creates a cascade of effects throughout the body. The endocannabinoid system itself is understood to be homeostatic regularity, consistently working to maintain balance throughout the physiological system. Not only can endocannabinoid receptors be found in the male reproductive system, such as the testes, prostate, vas deferens, and spermatoza, but other ECS components such as endocannabinoid anandamide, an enzyme responsible for the help me out with this one, Mrs. Weedman. DGRADATION. The weed kicked in.
I can't even follow you. I smoke too much. Say that again.
Degradation.
Degradation.
Thank you. The weed kicked in on me.
You got it.
Fatty acidamide hydroxydraws FAAH.
What are you reading about?
I'm reading about the endocannabinoid system.
I forgot what you're reading about.
Have been located in
testosterone.
Right, in testicular tissue.
Sorry.
You got baked. The fact that Leydig cells from the testosterone is released also in CB1 endocannabinoid receptors have led researchers to conclude that the ECS plays an important role in maintaining healthy levels of testosterone production. Interestingly, in 2001, study of mice, which acts in a similar way to THC by binding the CB receptors, was found to suppress testosterone levels, perhaps fueling the theory that THC must do the same. THC and testosterone, the evidence. While a number of preclinical studies on animals have suggested that THC administration reduces testosterone levels, research on humans have been far less conclusive and fails to prove that cannabis reduces testosterone. In 2018, study designed to estimate the effect of cannabis consumption on U.S. males, 1,500 men were asked about the frequency of cannabis use and cross-matched with testosterone serum levels. No difference was detected in testosterone levels between the men who had consumed cannabis at some point in their life and those who have never tried it. However, testosterone serum levels were higher in men who had recently consumed cannabis, indicating any change relates to how recently cannabis was consumed and not duration or frequency. I'm going to say something about that because I've had some friends of mine that had low sperm counts when they were trying to have children, and the doctors right away asked, do you use cannabis? Yes. Well, that's lowering your testosterone. Well, it's saying here that it's not 100% accurate.
Well, maybe there's not enough research.
Right. There's not. Right. As we know
so
this.
They probably it's doctors and it's an illegal drug, so it's like the first thing to rule out.
That pops in their head.
Stop doing that.
Right.
Yeah. That's got to be the cause.
Probably.
I don't think so. I think it would make them pretty good and strong.
Strong like buzz.
Strong little sperm.
However, in Denmark, a study on 1,200 young men found rather contradictory results for cannabis and men's reproductive health. On one hand, sperm concentration and sperm count were almost 30% lower in those using cannabis once a week, while after counterintuitively, testosterone levels were higher within the same range as cigarette smokers. Tobacco has been found. Now, I don't know about this. This is what this article is saying. Tobacco smoke has been found to increase testosterone levels. I've heard differently, but this is what the article is saying. Further investigation is required to examine the effects cannabis smoking with tobacco has on testosterone levels compared to other consumption methods. So it says it there.
Maybe that's why the Marlboro Man was just so manly. He had so much testosterone because all he did was frickin' smoke cigarettes.
Cowboy killers. Could cannabis exposure in pregnancy affect testosterone in the fetus? One of the areas guaranteed to generate debate is whether cannabis is safe to consume during pregnancy. And Mrs. Weedman did great on an article we talked about in the past about pregnancy and cannabis use. While the jury is still out and evidence is lacking, one study sought to examine whether giving THC to mice mothers to be on day 12 of the gestation would affect testosterone levels in the male offspring. In this study, at least both testosterone and hormone levels were significantly reduced, while CBD administered in the same day caused suboptimal testicular weight. For ethical reasons, it is unlikely the study will be replicated in humans, but it does at least raise awareness that what a mother ingests during pregnancy, whether it be cannabis or coffee, can have a direct impact on her baby.
Hold on a minute.
Go ahead.
Because you said something about how she was pregnant, the mouse, for like 2 weeks.
Yes, gestation 12 days.
Oh, 12 days.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. If they're making like 12 days is a big deal, how long do they carry these babies? A mouse only carries their young for about 3 weeks.
Right. That's
No
why they bird
Shit.
like 20 of them at a time.
They could have babies every month. Dang.
Poor mother mice.
Oof.
Can using cannabis affect your sex drive? I'm going to say no to that, but I'll keep on reading. The fact that recent cannabis use appears to increase testosterone levels seems to turn on its head the theory that cannabis dampens a man's libido. Again, numerous animal studies on everything from rodents to primates have suggested that THC at least is a bit of a passion killer. However, when it comes to humans, once again, nothing has been conclusively proved. A few studies have linked cannabis use with premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction, ED, and when about 8,600 Australian men were screened for the use of cannabis and its sexual effects, daily use was correlated with sexual and erectile underperformance. Women do not suffer from these same effects from cannabis use and may actually be more likely to achieve orgasm if they use cannabis. Woohoo! For women. Men, I don't believe that. What it's saying about
How many men did they study?
8,600.
Come on.
I don't believe that.
Right.
I mean, that's just me. So, correlation does not imply causation. When it comes to cannabis and testosterone, it would appear that it may be yet another case of correlation, not implying causation. Yes, overall testosterone levels may be plummeting in the West, and male infertility may indeed be on the rise, but increased levels of cannabis consumption are probably not to blame.
Yeah.
And certainly it's not the primary reason. Instead, a myriad of factors such as the overuse of opioids, pesticides, use on crops, and increasing levels of obesity are likely to play the part. I agree 100% more with that than I believe
it's
cannabis.
Just pointing the finger at something because they can.
Right. So instead of getting to the real root of all problems, and I'm glad this article talked about all that and talked about the studies and the reviews by PubMed and all this stuff. So this is all some data they looked at in this. But I personally don't agree with the whole lowering the libido of males. Good for women, though, getting more orgasms, though, during sex with cannabis. Amazing. Awesome.
All good.
Extraction experts debunk 5 old processing myths. Now, we've been talking about concentrates a lot lately, so this is just some myths from the editor and some people that he interviewed. So, cannabis extractors operate with scarce scientific resources or standards to consult, and much of their know-how is gained word of mouth or from other industries. Manufacturers on the levels of the THC spectrum have had to adapt techniques from food, pharmaceuticals, and even perfume companies to bring extracted cannabinoids to market. There's a lot of misleading information years and years ago when we were all self-taught and the internet wasn't as robust, said Nate Ferguson, co-founder of Jetty Extracts in Oakland, California. You had to figure it out for yourself, and other extractors always like to lead you down the wrong path because they would get so competitive. So it comes to no surprise that some cannabis processing methods are grounded more in habit than fact. We caught up with some extraction experts to get the take on the most persistent processing myths in cannabis, plus their takes on new technology that may not be ready for prime time. Myth 1. Stems and hot alcohol hash. There are still people out there that are trying to make hash using cannabis stems and hot isopropyl alcohol. Let us just put all that down to say they will fail. Hash was originally made with using mechanical separation of the trichomes, rolling in hands, beating with sticks, shaking in bags, not by boiling sticks in alcohol. I still don't know why people think this will work. There's hardly any THC in the stems to begin with, such as life. This is just his opinion. And myth 2, baking sorbents helps. This is the editor's note. Sorbents are materials used to absorb or adsorb liquids or gases. They do. Now, this is the Jorge Sanchez. They do this to remove water that's absorbed in them because they believe that water prevents the chlorophyll from being able to attach to the sorbent's surface. What the water is actually doing is degumming the oil and improving its overall clarity by hydrating the hydratable phospholipids. My gosh, so many big words today. I said that right, though. Phospholipids. To allow them to further break down and be easily removed by the sorbents. When they bake them, they are driving their bleaching process in the negative direction. These sorbents are loaded with a specific moisture content by manufacturers for a good reason. And that's Jorge Sanchez, co-founder of Chemtech San Diego. Method 3. Ethanol crude is winterized oil. And this is by Alex Goff. I have heard this term a lot, and generally winterized oil has gone through a winterization step, but cold ethanol crude never has to be winterized since it never extracts the waxes. And he is Gemini Extraction, Erie, Colorado. Myth 4. You can't get pesticides out of concentrates. There is a myth that you cannot remove heavy metals or pesticides from concentrates. The truth is anything is possible given the appropriate solvents with liquid-to-liquid extraction or by utilizing active filters. Like activated carbon and running your tincture through this is how they do it in lots of places. And I'm convinced that the people who have been doing this the old school way, who winterized using micron filters and activated carbon, were doing this without even knowing that was the purpose. Sure, it also helps pull out the color and trap lipids, but it does so much more as well. And that's Tiffany Coleman. Leftover ethanol concentrates are unsafe. This is myth 5. When it comes to ethanol and hydrocarbon extraction, there are often a fear of leftover solvent, ethanol or butane, in the finished product. People are concerned that it's unsafe, even from facilities that take precautions. The way these are purged, with the solvents placed under heat and vacuum agitation, after a given amount of time, the trace is detected well below the required threshold of parts per million. Although there are trace amounts of alcohol in many things we encounter in everyday life, there are far less extracts that have been exposed to heat and vacuum procedures. These leftover concentrates are safe and validated by the vigorous quality assurance testing done before the release of the products. And that's Adam Chambers, sales representative, Pros Paint in San Francisco. So, not ready for prime time. Here's one that's not really being talked about is ultrasonic assisted extraction. The idea is to apply ultrasonic energy to the plant material while being extracted with solvent. It doesn't matter what the solvent is. The ultrasonic energy is theorized to enhance the extraction by vibrating the plant matter, allowing the solvent to penetrate faster or remove more oil for a more complete extraction. While the method has been proven to be feasible, all of the tests are on a small scale. Utilizing it as a scale needed for cannabis or hemp is impractical, if not impossible. And that's by Andy Joseph, founder of Apex Supercritical, Youngstown, Ohio. We do ultrasonic extraction, but we only do it on small scale. It's not our workhorse, and essentially it's the way we can be a little more efficient in our process. It increases efficiency, absolutely, but I haven't been approached to buy any large-scale ultrasonic equipment. So, pretty good stuff there. just learning more about extractions and stuff like that. Here's one more, and this one's not ready for prime time, and this one's by Hunter Newbar of Ore-Grown Bend, Oregon. People think they can run inferior product through a CRC, color remediation column, and it'll be more appealing to the consumer. But at the end of the day, the product is not better. We don't do it, and that becomes something you can sell against. We're not trying to hide old material by using CRC. And that's what I got for you all on some more concentrations and some stuff that's debunked. Good, bad, or the ugly, I don't know. So just learning more every day. Pain management and chronic pain. A lot of seniors out there, huh?
Yeah.
Think cannabis helps?
It could.
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yep. We've got an article here. Many seniors are in pain, and the cannabis stigma prevents them from getting relief. Now, more than ever, this population and their caregivers need to know the truth about the plant-based solutions that are available. An estimated 50% of Americans over the age of 65 suffer from chronic pain. Half. And for seniors in assisted living, the number is as high as 80%. A recent study published in Progress in Neuropsychopharmacology and Biological Psychiatry dubbed the problem the silent epidemic of chronic pain in older adults. Yes, some degree of aches and pains are an inherent part of aging, but these statistics should disturb us. Doctors link chronic pain in seniors to insomnia, social isolation, disability, depression, dementia, and increased mortality. Our elders deserve better. It's a complex problem treating chronic pain in seniors. Many older adults are unable to tolerate non-steroidal anti-inflammatory pain medications like acetaminophen, ibuprofen, and naproxen. Opioids haven't solved the problem either. In a 2019 study on seniors, researchers reported that pharmaceutical treatments of chronic pain in older adults is usually only partially effective and is often limited by side effects. Opioids pose particular risks for seniors, from a higher risk of falls and fractures to increasing rates of addiction. Now more than ever, this population and their caregivers need to know about plant-based pain solutions. Compounds such as THC, CBD, or one of the many emerging trace cannabinoids are non-addictive, evidence-based options for pain management. While Americans over 65 face significant barriers to accessing cannabinoids, the promising new research around their efficacy for treating pain should incentivize us to bring those barriers down. There are obstacles to plant-based medicine. Prohibition, propaganda, and stigmatization around cannabis remain, even in 2021. It's a sad irony that American seniors, the population most in need of low-risk pain management tools, were subjected to the most propaganda and fear-mongering around the cannabis plant. While most Americans now say cannabis should be legal in some form, that percentage decreases with age. Older people are much more likely to believe that cannabis consumption is inherently harmful, a gateway drug toward abuse, and a threat to public safety. After decades of misinformation, fear-mongering, and drug war rhetoric, it's no wonder so many seniors are more wary of plants than of pills. Many older Americans are still ashamed or fearful when asked about cannabis, even with their doctors. In a recent survey, 30% of older adults didn't even answer the question about whether or not they used medical marijuana, notes Hillary Lum, a geriatrician and associate professor at the University of Colorado School of Medicine. If people feel uncomfortable with it on an anonymous survey, they must also feel uncomfortable telling their doctor about it. CBD has fewer negative connotations, partly because of its quasi-legality, partly because it's non-intoxicating, but partly because it doesn't share the criminal undertones of cannabis. But even if older Americans are open to the idea of trying CBD for pain relief, they still have to overcome the hurdles of informed medical counsel, safety assurance, and access. Every reputable health expert urges seniors to consult with their doctor before adding CBD or THC to their medical regimen, and with good reason. Nearly 9 out of 10 Americans aged 65 and older take prescription medications, and 54% of them are taking 4 or more prescription drugs. The potential for drug interactions with cannabinoids is real, but when older patients seek advice from their doctors regarding cannabis or CBD, it's difficult for them to get definitive answers. Because federal restrictions have made it extremely difficult to study cannabis, medical professionals lack the research that they need to recommend a treatment. Even Eloise Tyson, president of the American Cannabis Nurses Association and a geriatric nurse practitioner, acknowledges that healthcare professionals who are knowledgeable about cannabis are very hard to find. Many doctors are not prescribing medical cannabis. In states where medical cannabis is legal to treat serious medical conditions, doctors are too often uninformed about the risk and benefit profiles of cannabinoids. In Texas, for example, patients with cancer, epilepsy, ALS, Alzheimer's, and cancer can get a medical marijuana card, but only if they receive a recommendation of one of the 150 doctors in the state who are registered members of the program. That's 150 out of a total of 43,000 doctors in the entire state.
Man.
Many doctors don't feel adequately educated around cannabis and don't register to become prescribers, perpetuating the access education problem. Half of the Mayo Clinic's primary care doctors said in a 2019 survey that they weren't prepared to answer questions about medical marijuana, even though 58% consider it a legitimate medical therapy for terminal illness, untreatable pain, and cancer symptoms. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, they understand because there's clinical trials on drugs, so they feel comfortable prescribing that, but there's nothing clinical on cannabis, so they don't know if it could potentially interfere with the medications. So they don't want it really comes down to liability. They might truly believe in it, but they don't want to be the person who recommends it, and then there's a problem, right?
Right.
Nathaniel Morris, MD, a Stanford resident in psychiatry, made waves when he argued that physicians need concrete, ongoing education on cannabinoids. Cannabis has become an inescapable part of my medical training, and most of my learning has come from patients. Imagine you're a senior with chronic pain who's suspicious of opioids and has overcome decades of reefer madness propaganda. You somehow miraculously connect with a physician who is open to cannabinoids for pain management and educated about how they might interact with other prescriptions you're taking. But even after your doctor gives you the green light, your search isn't over. Now you have to go find that CBD tincture or that THC gummy. Which one should you get? Is it the CBD at the grocery store? Is that any good? Was it a low dose? Are there dispensaries in my county? It's all so overwhelming that I don't blame anyone who gives up and simply gets another prescription drug that can be delivered to their doorstep. But hold tight. There is encouraging new research. Many argue that we cannot halt the opioid epidemic unless we address the underlying pain epidemic. While I understand clinicians' hesitancy to recommend a compound that's federally illegal to vulnerable seniors, I would also point them towards exciting new research. A peer-reviewed 2020 study in Israel of nearly 3,000 patients concluded that the therapeutic use of cannabis is safe and efficacious in the elderly population, and that cannabis use may decrease the use of other prescription medications, including opioids. Almost 94% of patients in the study reported improvement in their condition, with their pain level reduced by half. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's huge. So federal legalization would go a long way toward removing many of the barriers between older patients and cannabinoids as medicine. But until then, let's encourage healthcare professionals to consider cannabis for seniors in pain and support educating physicians in cannabis science. Let's use promising results of the Israeli study to fund other research on cannabinoid efficacy for pain in elder populations. And let's do all we can to destigmatize the cannabis plant and its compounds so that older Americans know it's a viable option for pain management. Cannabis does alleviate suffering.
They should, in Israel, too, do a test on 3,000 men and testosterone levels, too, and find out some truth.
There's just so many things that have to.
I was,
but the
I
hospitals
smoked,
won't get involved until it's not federally legal.
Until it's federally legal, right?
Right.
Yeah. I took 2 more hits of that weed, so a bunch of thoughts were going through my head about like the testosterone thing and that it could be just such old data.
Yeah.
You know, that they just, or it was probably like maybe they just put that on there to scare men from not smoking cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Just like using
like
this.
OB-GYNs, they need more business, so they're like, tell them not to smoke the weed.
Right.
We need more babies.
Right.
Did that even make sense? Because I'm kind of high. That didn't make sense, did it? You looked at me like I'm crazy. Did I just talk blah, blah?
No, you're good.
Blah, 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 blah?
You're good.
Blah, blah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just old data. And then the whole thing now with, talking still about opioids, and we're talking about still trying to break the stigma with cannabis that 50% of pain goes away when you use cannabis in older people.
Oh, there's a new, is it on Hulu? Dope Sick.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's about
We're supposed to watch that. It's on our list.
American opioid epidemic and the heroin epidemic because of the opioid epidemic.
It's supposed to be good.
But it's mostly focusing on big farm, right?
Yeah.
And the prescription.
Terrible.
Crazy.
So,
we got to see that. How did I get there?
We were talking about opioids.
Gosh. This weed makes me pretty high. Wow. Or maybe I didn't smoke too much. What did I have? 2 hits?
I guess 2 tree, whatever it takes.
1, 2 tree. That's all right. Stick with us, people.
That's it.
We'll get through this together. I swear.
Here's a funny one. I might bring you back.
What?
South Carolina teacher arrested after student takes cannabis gummies from prize box in classroom, sheriff says.
Okay, one of the kids put those in there for sure.
Hold on, no. A South Carolina teacher was arrested after a student allegedly found and took a pack of cannabis gummies from classroom prize box, according to the local sheriff's office. Victoria Farish Weiss, 27, is charged with possession of a Schedule 1 drug. It's totally illegal in South Carolina. Nothing. I don't even think it's decriminalized. So,
I know, but who put the gummies in the bin?
Hold on.
I think the kid's mom did it.
No.
It was a setup to try to make the teacher
gummies,
look bad.
So hold on.
Tell me the
When
story.
the student took the pack of edibles, Weiss allegedly told the student to pick something else from the box. The student returned to the box and grabbed another packet of edibles. So twice he went in the box and twice he grabbed the bag of edibles. Here's the kicker. The police went to her house and found a whole box full of the same edibles.
Duh. What'd they do? Fall out of her briefcase or something?
She probably was stoned and made the box at home and threw all the candy in there and probably had some of the
You wouldn't do that. Who's that careless? That's
she
dumb.
obviously
well,
was.
that was dumb.
Well, why would she?
What grade is she teaching?
I don't know. But no students ate any of the THC-laced products. So she caught the student taking,
right,
and she recognized it, said,
Yeah,
come back, and he grabbed another one.
If she's doing any of her work at home,
Okay. But
she shouldn't do it while she's stoned. If she's going to
if they found a box of a bunch of edibles and they look like a bag of Sour Patch Kids, because we've seen edible bags.
Okay, but she knew when she looked at it.
She's
in the
definitely
classroom.
buying it on the illicit market because she's in a state that is illegal.
But who cares?
I don't care. I'm just saying, no. So
dumb
I
move,
bet you
teacher. Dumb move.
She
That's
probably
all
bought
I'm saying.
pack, a bunch of packs of edible gummies that were maybe look like a Sour Patch Kid bag. We've seen them. I've seen them online. People selling them, or the nerd bags. I've seen them. They look exactly like it. And she probably had the candy bags from wherever she bought them from, throwing it in the box, and then all of a sudden there was more edibles next to it. And she's just like, "Oh, those are Sour Patch because I forgot those." Psh.
No, I'm saying like after her student picked up one wrong package and she realized that that's her shit from home. That I don't care what she does in her free time.
Neither do I.
But once she realized that there was one package of her gummies in there, wouldn't you just pick the bin up and be like, "Okay, kids, we're not going to pull from the box today."
Now, if you were like,
how about you get 5 minutes extra at recess?
If there was 5 minutes.
I don't know,
candy?
something.
You should know better than anybody.
I need more than 5 minutes if I'm giving up candy. Better give me a freaking. I want double recess, time and a half. Bullshit, 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Whatever, teach.
There'd have been 22 kids in that classroom ready to beat her up.
Yeah.
Right,
It'd be
exactly.
like dog pile.
So I would have called the timeout and just said, "Hey guys, work on your books for a second. I got to check this box. I think there might be something broken in there." And I would open the box up and it'd be like, "Okay, there's 5 bags," and I would have went through the whole thing.
How did this candy leave the classroom? Like, how did the kid bring the candy to the cops? She didn't see him pick up the candy the second time?
It doesn't say.
Oh, gee, that's a bad article. We need more information. Gosh.
So
I'm going to get more information on that. I'm not trying to beat up on the teacher.
You're just going to find out.
Someone made a big mistake.
You know what you're going to find out?
What
type of candy she had in that box.
I want to know what the wrapper looked like.
her candy picking for the students. Yeah. Not talking about the edible candy.
Yeah.
That you're going to.
She had like a bunch of butterscotch in there and then like one gummy. One gummy. So what do you think the kid's going to freaking pick? The gummy. Shit. And the gummy wasn't supposed to be in there. She dropped it in there on accident. Fucking butterscotch.
Let's move on.
I like butterscotch, but most people don't.
Not an 8-9-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. I like the good butterscotch.
Yeah, but not. I want some.
I'd chomp on it.
Better than a butterscotch when you're getting candy. New York regulators moved to let medical cannabis patients grow their own and give. And they're giving cannabis expungence update. Good for you, New York, because I read last week about that, and it looked like you guys messed up on it. So excited. And here's even something better.
What?
Better. New York employers can't drug test most workers for cannabis, state announces. Most. So go ahead and look it up. I'm not gonna go through everything, but that's pretty fucking good, New York, man. You can smoke in the streets. You can grow your own. And most workers will not get drug tested anymore for cannabis.
Sweet.
That's awesome. Oregon, illegal pot grows, more calls to send the National Guard. There's a lot of illegal grows, I guess, going on in Oregon, or who knows. But there's so much going on that they're finding out that they're asking the National Guard to come and bust them up. So who knows? They're finding some big ones there, though. Rhode Island medical cannabis dispensary lottery set for October 29th. Good luck there, Rhode Island. Here, like a week ago, they banned Delta 8 THC in Texas.
Oh.
And then there was a big fight to get it back, and the governor is playing like pussyfoot with it. So, and a lot of the hemp growers there are trying to fight for Delta 8 because that's how they make their money.
Right.
So they're processing most of that hemp into Delta 8.
Start manufacturing or grow hemp so we could have hemp clothing.
Yeah, there you go.
Fabrics.
So they banned Delta 8, but there's a big fight, and the judge is kind of pussyfooting around. We'll see what happens. So here's something really funny. I remember the movie 2001, The Space Odyssey, when the apes were, they had that monolith, and they erected, and they were dancing around it. Or they weren't dancing. They were just making a lot of noises and like trying to hit it. Yes, they were doing all that and beating their chest. And like, yeah, it was kind of great.
I'm the sound effects person.
So in front of the headquarters, the DEA headquarters, the apes erected a 2,001-pound monolith in front of it and started like smoking weed in front of it, and there's a video. It's pretty funny. So, and then you watch the 2001: A Space Odyssey black monolith first, and then watch this, and you're baked, and you're gonna laugh your fucking ass off. So. U.S. Postal Service enacts cannabis vape product restrictions. Be careful if you are mailing anything to the United States Post Office. Could get busted. Be careful. Or they could find it and dump it. Vape cartridges, edibles, all that stuff. So be careful. Americans, real estate. You know a little bit about real estate, don't you, Mrs. Weedman?
I know a little bit.
Why don't you tell us about where Americans want to live?
Well, we got this article, and this is kind of crazy, but Americans want to live where cannabis is legal. This real estate survey discovers this. So isn't that crazy? Like, people are locating themselves in legal states.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, okay, let's just talk about Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. When cannabis went legal there,
gold rush.
And how many people moved there, not to get involved in cannabis and make money on cannabis, for their children. We watched a lot of TV shows that a lot of parents moved there for health. They can get cannabis oils for.
But a lot of people move there for jobs.
Yeah, that
too.
But the housing market went nuts in like a short period of time because people were moving. 10,000 people a month were moving to Colorado for a hot minute there until more states opened up. But yeah, so I mean, we can attest to that.
So, Americans would rather live in states where cannabis is legal than in those that continue to criminalize cannabis consumers. That's according to a new studies survey that was published by Redfin. And let me just tell you, they suck. Sorry. I didn't say that.
They'll never be
I did
a
not
sponsor.
say that. I didn't say that. Did you say that?
I didn't hear nothing.
Among those who recently moved to a new metro area, 46% said they prefer to reside somewhere where cannabis is fully legal, compared to just 22% who want to live in a place with prohibition still in effect. The share of those who liked legalized jurisdictions includes more than 1 in 10 respondents who say they would only consider living in places where cannabis can be legally purchased. On the other side, 10% said they would rule out moving to areas that have ended criminalization. 32% of people taking the survey said they don't care about cannabis issues when it comes to where they live. The survey, which involved 1,023 U.S. residents who moved to a new home during the 18 months prior to answering the questions in August 2021, also asked about other issues such as abortion policy, voting rights, anti-discrimination laws for gender, and sexual orientation. Redfin said that while I hate Redfin. That while public policies, did you hear something? While public policies on cannabis and other issues are important factors in deciding where to move, other considerations often take precedence. People take the politics of a place into consideration when deciding where to move. But the truth of the matter is that other factors include housing affordability and access to jobs and schools, and those take priority, said Taylor Marr, the deputy chief economist for the company, in a press release. Oftentimes, this means someone will move from a blue state to a red state or vice versa, but choose a home in a neighborhood where most people hold the same political views as they do. Austin, a liberal Texas enclave that's attracting scores of left-leaning folks from pricier coastal cities, is just one example. Prior analysis, including one published this year that uses data from online real estate marketplace Zillow, has shown that cannabis legalization is associated with higher home property values. Home values increased $6,338 more in states where cannabis is legal in some form, compared to states that haven't legalized cannabis, it concluded. Last year, a separate analysis from economists at the University of Oklahoma similarly found that states that legalize cannabis see a boost in housing prices, with the most pronounced being nearby retail outlets open for business. Research, including a study released this month that was authored by a federal official with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, has tied cannabis legalization to lower crime rates, and that is also a key factor in home values and neighborhood desirability. So that's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, I think that it makes a big difference.
We live in a state that's legal. Do you feel uncomfortable now going to buy cannabis?
No, not at all.
Growing your own cannabis, smoking weed on your property in front of people? Do you
not at all.
Right, because it's legal here.
Right, but then we were just in Florida, and it's not legal there.
It's medical,
but very rigid, and there's no. But
where we were at, no one gave a fuck.
I know, but technically, just because we're from a legal state and we have medical card, we couldn't smoke there. There's no reciprocal laws, and so it was very different.
Which sucked.
It was different.
There was a dispensary I wanted to go visit, and you're not even allowed in. And I have a medical card, and they wanted. So all your states that aren't reciprocal to other states, even here in Illinois, you guys need to fucking get your shit together and let people go in other states with it. It's only bringing more income to your state.
But there's a point to be made with this article that really it does make a difference. I wouldn't, at this point, want to live in a state that's not. Now that we've experienced living in a state that's legal,
and even going to a state that's rec too is comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like going to Michigan, they're reciprocal there, and I go to Michigan, stay the night in Michigan, go to a dispensary, pick up what I need, and they still give me my medical prices too.
Right, that's the point.
I'm just saying it's awesome.
Yeah,
so awesome. So cool things.
Mm-hmm.
Legalization. See, people are moving out of your state to go to a state that sells weed.
Although Florida is only medically legal, and they're recruiting people. They're like, come live with us.
Oh, like crazy.
We'll let you do whatever you want. They're currently trying to recruit Chicago Fire Department and Chicago police officers. They put an article out today. The governor did $5,000 to come move to Florida, and they'll hire you onto their forces.
So if you got like 20 years in and you wanted to stay, you could retire and then go down to Florida and work as a cop and finish 10 more years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Enough of that. But I do have something to say. International news. Luxembourg, first in Europe to legalize growing and using cannabis.
Really?
The third country in the world to do it. Uruguay in 2013, Canada in 2018, and Luxembourg. And if you don't know where Luxembourg is, it's a very small country, and Germany, France, Brussels all border it.
It's kind of like Monaco.
No. Very small country. I'm so fucking proud of you, Luxembourg. I'm going to post all this shit all over my Instagram for you all.
What about Amsterdam? They're not legal?
No.
They've got the red light district.
It doesn't matter. Just the coffee shops are able to sell.
Oh.
No. So I'm so proud of you. So fucking proud of you, Luxembourg. Big round. Mrs. Wee Man, light up that joint. Take another hit for Luxembourg.
I'm not going to do
Come
that.
on. One little hit. Baby hit for Luxembourg. And then pass it to me.
I feel so pressured.
We got to smoke for Luxembourg.
All right, Luxembourg.
So proud of you. Third
German.
country. Adults in Luxembourg will be permitted to grow up to 4 cannabis plants in their homes or gardens under laws that will make it the first country in Europe to legalize production and consumption of cannabis. I'm going to take a rip for Luxembourg. The announcement on last Friday, for you, Luxembourg, government was said to deliver fundamental changes in the country's approach to recreational cannabis use and cultivation in light of the failure of prohibition to deter use. Under the legalization, people aged 18 and over will be able to legally grow up to 4 plants per household for personal use. No matter, you don't even need a medical card. 4 plants. Trade in seeds will also be permitted without any limit on the quantity or levels of THC. Fucking awesome. The principal psychoactive constituent. The government said it would be possible to buy seeds in shops, to import them, or buy them online. Oh my gosh. There is also the intention to allow for the domestic production of seeds for commercial purposes, but plans for both a national production chain and state-regulated distribution have been delayed by the COVID pandemic. Justice Minister Sam Tansen described the change to the law on domestic production and consumption as a first step. We thought we had to act. We have an issue with drugs, and cannabis is the drug that is most used and is a large part of the illegal market, he said. We want to start by allowing people to grow it at home. Oh my God, I love it. Love it. The idea is that a consumer is not in an illegal situation if he consumes cannabis, that we don't support the whole illegal chain from production to transportation to selling, where there is a lot of misery attached. We want to do everything we can to get more and more away from the illegal black market. For home growers, the place of cultivation of the 4 plants will be limited to the usual place of residence, indoors or outdoors, on a balcony, terrace, or garden. A legal prohibition of the consumption and transport of cannabis or cannabis products in public will be maintained and trade in cannabis or cannabis products other than seeds, whether free of charge or in return for payment, remains prohibited. I'm going to say something on that. It's amazing. Do you want to know why that's amazing? Because they're going to teach you and want you to learn how to grow your own medicine. Learn from the beginning on how it's done. Before it even gets sold in the country, you are going to be able to learn and take up something from the scratch. Hold on, let's move on. Under a softening of the law, however, the consumption and transport of quantity of up to 3 grams will no longer be considered a criminal offense, but classified as a misdemeanor. Fines would be reduced as little as $25 for possession of under 3 grams, down from $251 to $2,500 today. About 3 grams, nothing changes. You can be considered a dealer, Tansen said. Nothing changes for car drivers either. There's still a 0 tolerance. All right, well, I understand that, but you could still have 4 plants at home and grow 4 pounds of weed if you get 1 pound per plant and smoke all you want at home. Government sources said the legalization was driven by the desire to liberalize consumption and cultivation within one's own four walls. The move is the first step of a more fundamental re-regulation of the state's handling of cannabis designed to keep users away from the illegal market. A system of state-regulated production and distribution is planned to ensure product quality, with revenues from sales to be invested primarily in prevention, education, healthcare, in the broad field of addiction, government sources said. The general framework of the overhaul of the law had been agreed 2 years ago in coalition agreement between the Liberals, the Social Democrats, and the Greens. So actually all three parties came together, and they actually have three parties in their country, and they all came together, and they worked it out. Luxembourg will join Canada, Uruguay, and the 11 U.S. states in flouting a UN convention on the control of the narcotic drug, which commits signatories to limit exclusively for medical and scientific purpose the production, manufacture, export, import, distribution, trade, employment, and possessions of drugs, including cannabis. Uruguay became the world's first country, remember that, and Canada followed in 2018. So, here's your answer about in the Netherlands, possibly the European country most associated with relaxed attitude towards the use of cannabis. Its recreational use, possession, and trade is technically illegal. It has a tolerance policy of gedoubeleid. I probably butchered the fuck out of that word, under which recreational use is largely accepted within bounds. So, I'm fucking proud of you, Luxembourg.
Wow.
Fucking amazing. Amazing. You can learn how to do it yourself. And nobody's going to make money off it in the beginning. You grow your own. You learn your own. You teach other people how to grow their own. And then no big corporation cannabis can come in and fuck it all up, because you're going to learn from the ground up, and you become your own corporation. And don't let no corporates come in and take your shit. You do it. And they're letting you do it. Where do I live?
Huh?
What country do I live in?
The United States of America?
I don't know, man. I thought we were supposed to be a free country, and what I just read about that, weed being free. Woo! Canadians, though, bought $1.3 billion of dried cannabis in the first half of 2021.
Dang.
Or
how much?
$1.3 billion.
Pounds?
No, Canadian dollars.
Oh.
Still
a lot.
Yeah.
Go Canada.
Yeah. Rastafarians are demanding legal access to the holy herb in Guyana. And they're fighting to, just like have it for their religion, to be able to smoke it. So we'll see what happens. Good luck for you guys out there and gals. Switzerland to legalize recreational medical cannabis. Hasn't happened yet. Cannabis legalization in Switzerland is on the move as plans are announced to introduce a bill that would reform the country's policy after two parliamentary commissions recommended that cannabis should no longer be banned. According to Blick, both members of the National Council MPs from the Social Security and Health Commission of the Council states have spoken out in favor of legalizing recreational medical cannabis use in Switzerland. The proposed reforms will allow the production, cultivation, trade, and consumption of cannabis. The decision was made with 9-2 votes as the parliamentary services announced on Tuesday. 40 members across the political groups of the National Council are among the co-signatories of the initiative. Bernese Central Councilor Heinz Singh, I'm not going to pronounce his name, said the aim to dry up the black market and protect the consumers and its youth. The plan is to establish clear rules on taxation, advertising, cultivation of cannabis for personal use. It comes after the new trial of Zurich will allow the citizens to buy cannabis products from pharmacies and cannabis social clubs, following a parliamentary-approved change to the country's drug policy. While recreational cannabis is illegal in Switzerland, the country has one of the most liberal approaches to cannabis in Europe. For hemp cultivation, cannabis plants with a concentration of 1% THC are permitted. Furthermore, the possession of small amounts of cannabis for personal use was decriminalized in 2012. Good luck, Switzerland. Should do it like Luxembourg's doing it, though. Just let people fucking grow. Malta is a step closer to radical change in cannabis, and they're going to start doing some cannabis clubs. And it looks like they're going to follow the coffee shop culture in Amsterdam. Good luck with you on that, Malta. We smoke a lot of different methods of weed, bowls, bongs, whatever. We smoked a lot of different varieties, a lot of different ways and way it's made, and all that fun stuff. Tell me some stuff. Teach me.
Yeah.
I want to learn.
I guess I didn't even think about it until I read this article, but apparently
that's why I gave it to you.
What method of smoking weed that you use determines how high you will get from the weed. Kind of crazy, right?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So, the more you find yourself rolling or packing your favorite bud, the more you begin to ask yourself, although I did not ask myself, am I smoking this the best way? Everyone has their claim for the best, what they enjoy. And that's really what I thought it came down to. And what they think gives them the best high. That too. Like I like a joint. Or my steamroller.
Those are your two favorites.
That's it. Yeah, or an edible. Right. Edible would be my third.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone has their claim for the best, right? Each company claims to have the next best product. You just have to enjoy your weed, and we don't think it needs to be that difficult. So, but the important thing is understanding how much THC you're actually receiving, because that will help you better understand if you should upgrade your bud or your smoking method. More importantly, understanding how much THC you enjoy will allow you to open the doors to new products such as concentrates and edibles, and you can then begin using weed in a variety of creative and fun ways. We all know extracts pack the biggest kick. How can you overlook the potential of a wax or oil with upwards of 80% THC? So instead, we want to focus on smoking good weed and how to get the most out of every hit. So what is THC percentage? To understand how strong weed can be, you first have to understand how it's measured. Sometimes you'll see measurements of percentage, but then other times you'll see measurements in milligrams. To make matters more confusing, different forms of using cannabis may affect you differently too. A percentage tells you how much THC is within a bud. But once a bud is broken down into its various forms, such as extracts or concentrates, you need a manner of measuring to understand how strong it is. Milligrams is a form of measuring strength with a focus on weight. So THC is a percentage within a bud, a leaf, the actual plant. Milligram focuses on the weight, right? It allows you the option of adding ingredients to edibles with a deeper understanding of just how high you're going to get. So here's a little hypothetical. Let's say you have 7 grams of weed at around 20% THC, which is then extracted to 1 gram of rosin. That's 80% THC. 1,000 milligrams multiplied by 80% THC means you have a potency of 800 milligrams. All right, so 7 grams of weed gave you 800 milligrams of THC. If this 800 milligram was mixed into a cookie batter and made 32 cookies, eating 1 cookie would be the equivalent of smoking a joint by yourself in 1 hit, or 25 milligrams. So they're saying an average joint is 25 milligrams. So 1 cookie is like 1 joint, right? Of course, you have to consider how much you're eating or drinking at one time to understand how hard it will hit you. Putting the same 25 milligrams from the cookie into a gummy would be like smoking an eighth in 1 pull.
Damn.
Right? Because you're going to consume that entire 25 milligrams.
Understand that, people.
If you're smoking, you put it down, you pass it around. You're not ingesting that entire joint, right? Putting it into a drink and then sipping on it for a longer period of time would give you a more mellow high versus consuming it all at once. So anyway, this math becomes vital in professional production when numbers need to be closely monitored to create consistent product. To properly compare each bowl, look at the percentage of loss, not the ending THC, since each option comes with a different bowl size or amount used. So basically, they're just talking about everything could say it's 25 milligrams, but depending on how you are going to consume it, you are or you are not going to get that full 25 milligrams.
That's actually, I'm glad I learned a lot on that one.
So traditional rollies. I would be a traditional rollie.
Rollie.
So that's someone that is a smoker, right? The nostalgic feeling of grinding a bud, packing it into their favorite bowl, or rolling a couple joints to pass around with friends is still the go-to option, but you're missing out when you're smoking a blunt. A recent study found that when you're smoking a joint, you only receive 20 to 30% of the flower's THC, with 23 to 30% lost to pyrolytic destruction, i.e. the bud getting too hot and destroying the THC, and another 40 to 50% lost to side stream smoke, or the smoke you see when no one's actively taking a pull. This means if you have a gram of Blue Dream containing 19% THC, with the average joint holding a half milligram, you have the potential for 95 milligrams of THC. Then, when you consider the actual intake for a joint at 20 to 37%, we'll use 30 for an example on this one to average it out. You'll have 28.5 milligrams THC if you smoke the whole joint by yourself. If you shared it with another person and split it evenly, you'd get 14.25 milligrams.
You're getting
THC.
your own joint from here on out.
I couldn't do that.
I want my own.
Yeah. Packing a bowl. When smoking a bowl, at first you might think you'll have less loss since the weed is tucked away, but unfortunately that's not true. A bowl typically holds about 0.25 grams, and if we get some bud of Lemon Larry OG at 19% THC, we're packing in our bowl about 47.5 milligrams of THC. When smoking a bowl, it's said that overheating alone has a loss of 60% of your THC. You're only receiving 40% of the THC since you're holding an open flame or torch directly to the bud the entire time. The idea is that you would smoke all or nearly all of the buds in 1 or 2 immediate pulls and avoid letting it sit hot. If you were to take a bowl and allow the weed to sit hot, you can expect another 5 to 10% to the side stream, depending on how long you wait. Assuming you hit it all in one pull, you'll get about 17.67 milligrams THC per bowl if you smoke it by yourself.
That's why you see people when they're smoking their bowl, when they're done smoking it, they put their finger on it and put it out.
Put it out.
Yep.
But I mean, they're saying that this bowl was packed with 47.5 milligrams THC, and if you smoked the whole bowl, you'd get 17.67 milligrams.
That sucks.
That's crazy, right?
And how much money people are spending on weed out there.
Burning
and they lose
that shit
about
up.
they lose
Literally
about 40 to
burning it
60% of their what they're spending it on to nothing.
Yeah.
Not going in their lungs.
So if you filled that bowl with hash, which is considered processed or pressed keef, the same math could be used. Since hash is made of the pressed and dried trichomes of the flower, the trichomes hold a mass of the THC in the plant and create a product 2 times as potent as standard bud in most cases. Since hash is also smoked from a bowl with open flame, you can expect the same. 67% loss due to the open flame and side stream. This means a hash containing 45% THC would give you around 37 milligrams of THC per bowl. This is also considered a style of concentrate, so the added THC intake will be seen by the added cost, since it takes more harvested bud to create 1 gram.
This is a fucking great article. I'm glad I read it and gave it over to you. Yeah. I'm learning a lot again.
All right, so if you smoke from your bong, you get nearly the same loss with a bong due to its heating source. Bongs are known for giving you a cooler, smoother smoke on your end, but the loss through the pyrolytic destruction occurs as you're lighting the bud. THC is released around 390 degrees Fahrenheit, and temperatures above this begin to release and damage the THC, such as the 3,590 degree flame of a standard lighter.
I didn't know it was that hot.
Shit, I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Did anybody know that?
3,590 degrees.
I guess I never even really realized it.
THC, you're losing at 390. So, yeah, a big burn off there. Vaporizing. Vaporizers are different from your typical oil vapes. They are considered the most precise form of smoking weed. They utilize a highly controlled heating source to bring your weed to the exact temperature that releases optimal THC without causing too much loss. So it's going to bring you to that 390. You will still inevitably have some loss simply due to the time your bud starts to be heated until the optimal temperature, with a bit of waste at the end when the bud begins to dry and burn. Typically, vaporizers will have a total loss of 30 to 45% THC. If you had a strain like Point Break with 20% THC, you would be receiving from a typical bowl a whopping 36 milligrams. So it's like hash. With a precise control of temperature, this remains your best source of preserving your THC. While a vaporizer will get the most THC out of a specific bud, you'll have to ask yourself, is it about the THC or how you're experiencing a session? Vaporizers are pricey. They're precise, while bongs, joints, and blunts bowls are cost-effective and great for passing around a group. No matter which route you choose to smoke your weed, none of it matters without choosing a high-quality bud in the first place. Finding a distributor that you can trust with your cannabis, a distributor. So however that works out for you.
and a good way to say it, I guess.
Yeah. It's basically like choosing a new best friend. They need to be there for you when you need them. So cute. That's interesting. I had no idea that there was that much loss.
No, I mean, I always knew there was some kind of a loss, but not that much of a loss.
Pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, I mean,
makes you think about it when you're sitting there watching someone hold the joint. You're like, would you pass that thing? Mm-hmm. And they're just letting it burn away in their hand.
Yep. Whose birthday is it?
Snoop Dogg.
How old did he turn?
He turned 50 on the 20th. So happy birthday, Snoop. Unfortunately, yesterday, though, he lost his mom. So if you don't know Snoop, he is from Long Beach, California. He was a hip-hop star born Calvin Brodus Jr. in 1971. He became an international sensation after coming out of the California gangster rap scene in the early 1990s with the help of producer Dr. Dre. He is estimated to be worth $150 million at the moment, and some of that money comes from cannabis. He co-founded Leafs by Snoop, Mary Jane, and Casa Verde Capital, which recently invested $15 million in Portugal medical cannabis company AceCan. Snoop's next album, Algorithm, is due out November 12th on Def Jam Records, which he is now an executive consultant of. Snoop told Jimmy Fallon on September 27th, it's featuring a lot of big-name acts and a lot of new ones. He plans to follow with a Def Jam Kids album. That's cool. He's going to be part of the Super Bowl this year. And like I said, his mom passed away yesterday. It sounds like she had been sick for some time, but nonetheless, it's sad. So happy day. Happy birthday. He turned 50. Fitty. And sorry about your mama.
And he did a little blurb of his video for the new album.
Yeah.
And he was in a Mandalorian outfit.
Was he?
Yeah.
Really?
It was
I
awesome.
love Snoop.
It was awesome.
We saw him when in 2019.
Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing.
So happy birthday, Snoop. Ex-NFL player Ricky Williams launches Heisman Cannabis brand. Former NFL running back Ricky Williams on Monday launched Heisman, a brand that will focus on selling premium quality cannabis along with cannabis-related apparel and accessories. The initial focus will be in California, Oregon, and Nevada. Heisman's about the appreciation for the greatness. There is a passionate and dedicated team behind the brand, and altogether, we want to help people inspire greatness in themselves, Williams said in a statement. Heisman CEO Eric Hammond said the company is launching at a tipping point where sports and cannabis collide, and we are excited to continue to break boundaries between the two. Williams, 44, played in the NFL for 11 years. He actually got suspended 5 times or 4 times for smoking weed and cannabis. But you know what? I liked Ricky Williams. He was a great ass running back. But 11 years, 10,000 yards ain't no joke in the NFL. So good for you, Ricky Williams. Good luck. Man, I'm still fucking so excited about Luxembourg. I'm going to fucking finish the rest of this joint tonight in honor of Luxembourg. So this show is dedicated for them legalizing it, the third country in the world.
Germany.
No, Luxembourg.
It's its own country.
Yes.
I still have to get my mind around that.
I told
it's
you.
Tiny. It's tiny like Monaco.
I told you where it's surrounded.
There's
3 countries that surround it.
Go Luxembourg.
Oh, silly. Hey, also, thanks for sticking with us, man. And especially sometimes when I fuck up on my words and stuff like that. Just when I get baked, sometimes it happens, you know. So, but thanks for sticking with us on that. And it's a fuck up. What am I going to tell you? I'm not perfect. So, Mrs. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
Just have a wonderful week, everybody. Stay well. Stay safe. Thanks, Mr. Weedman.
Thanks, Mrs. Weedman, for being my...
Mr. to my missus.
Yeah, there we go.
Something like that.
Something like that. The love story.
Oh, thanks. Jesus. Okay. Finish it up.
All right.
Don't get sappy on everybody.
I'm not getting sappy at all.
I don't know what was just happening.
I just said the love story, the hashtag love story. That's what you put today on your Instagram post. It was great. It made me smile.
Okay. Okay.
She doesn't take well to
so romantic.
Romantic.
Oh my God.
I'll be a hopeless romantic forever.
It's okay.
I know. Hey, everybody. Peace be with you all out there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check us out on Weedman420 Chronicles on our Insta, Weedman420pod on Twitter. Drop us an email at weedman420chronicles@gmail.com. And I actually started a TikTok. I don't know what my name is, though. I know it's Weedman420 Chronicles. Yeah. Just check me out on TikTok at Weedman420 Chronicles. I'm on TikTok now. So if you guys, I like to see your posts, so I'll follow you just to watch what your stupid asses are doing on that day because it makes me laugh. I just go on and laugh. So anyway, thanks for listening to all. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff puff pass.